Welcome to Bachademia, a podcast so educational two professors could be hosting it. Hi, I'm Dr. Danielle Dick-McGue, and joining me is Dr. Bill Henneman. Welcome to Bachademia. This week we have a very special guest with us, academic advisor extraordinaire, Heather Asmus. Heather,
I call her Heather Awesome.
Heather Awesome. What do we need to know about you, Heather?
Oh my goodness. Well, I've been a Bachelor fan since the first season. That was my first year in college, actually. So I remember watching the first season with all of my roommates in the residence hall. We all gathered in the lounge and been watching ever since. So I'm really excited to have the conversation today.
Woohoo! Well, we're excited to have you. So that I can bring our listeners up to speed here a little bit. Bill had knee surgery yesterday and he just loves us so much that he's like, sure, let's do this. So he's a little bit high on drugs. And yesterday when he was all medicated, getting ready to have his procedure, maybe was it right after?
It was right after. I had no idea that I was being filmed. So.
Oh yes, his wife Elaine, who is absolutely wonderful, filmed it and shared it with Kim and I. So we had the joy of listening to him talk to his nurse, where he asked his nurse this brilliant question: would you rather use a dating app that generated possible romantic partners by using your Amazon purchases to connect you with people, or your Netflix account? And then you all decided to add Spotify as an option as well.
I feel like it's all of your media or all of your purchases. So
okay.
Media consumption or purchases.
All right. I think this is a great, brilliant question. I decided that we should always let Bill write surveys while he's under the influence.
Under heavy anesthesia.
Yes. So, thoughts, Heather?
I think we've discussed that at orientation once, Bill, but
Heather, I asked this question to everybody and we had a debate one time in orientation about it. Yeah.
So I'm definitely on the purchases side because I think that's what my husband and I argue the most over, is how we spend money, or more on his case, how he spends money and my lack of spending it. So that to me, I don't care what he watches. I don't care, that's not as big a deal to me. It's what you're spending your money on, because when you're in a relationship, you kind of view the money is like it's a combined thing. I'm working hard for that. I want to know it's being spent appropriately, I guess,
So would a dating app have weeded out your husband, or would you all still be together? Oh!
I think he'd be weeded out. I do. I think he'd be weeded out.
I love it. How about you, Bill? What's your answer?
It's easy for me because Elaine and I are so on the same wave about what we spend money on. We very rarely are at odds, we shouldn't buy that. And if it's something, it's extra onion rings at a restaurant, and it's kind of one of those, in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to hurt us. But I guess that probably means you should be matched up on money, because we don't have a lot of arguments, so. But there is something to be said about you sit down and you at night, and at a certain point in your marriage, you just kind of agree that you're going to sit down and watch TV. Or I know, Danielle, you don't watch a lot of TV, but when you and Ryan have dates, you've said, well, we're going to watch a movie.
Yeah.
And so what you don't want is to be I want to watch Fast and the Furious 9 and Ryan wants to watch Love Actually or something, right?
That's totally how it worked.
Well, I didn't want to gender. I didn't want to go for the easy pick. So.
I think it's easier when it's a move. I mean, when it's your I'm totally willing. If he wants to watch something and I'm not totally into it, I can sit there with him and be on my phone and he can watch it. And, I'm okay with that. I don't need to be totally invested into what he's watching. He's definitely not when I'm watching certain things. So, but there are times when we will pick things together, and, that's great when we can share it like that.
So I think I would agree. I would go with the Amazon purchases, although I think my husband would have never married me if that was the case. So for me, part of it is on Amazon is also where I buy a lot of my books because I read not mostly through Kindle. And so but I read a lot of crappy books. I read a lot of good books, but I also read a lot of crappy books. So Ryan recently bought a Kindle Paperwhite and he paid like the extra money to not get the ads on it because he was like, Danielle, it's going to be all these advertisements for like your sleazy books. It's going to be like billionaire romance, you know, like on the front of his Kindle. And so he's like, I will pay extra money so that I don't have to see
That is
your
amazing.
algorithmic generated ads. So, but I do think that like Amazon probably knows my identity much better than Netflix.
Oh,
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, because like Amazon also knows that like I like to buy pens and like what kind of laundry detergent I use.
see, I
Right. Where
don't
like
do
Netflix is just like, or like, you know, Netflix and Hulu are just like Danielle watches Bachelor in Paradise and then once every 2 months, like a movie her husband picked out.
Yeah, the research would suggest the money management is a better predictor of a happy relationship, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I was thinking about it as identity, you know, that like.
But the more similar you are, the more likely you are to have a happy relationship. And I guess your Amazon purchases aren't just money spending, it's also your personality, right?
That's true.
We got 2 new kittens. This is Ari.
They're very cute.
Oh my goodness. Hi, Ari.
They are the cutest little terrorists you've ever met. Like, they'll be so nice and cuddly, and they're like, screw it, I'm gonna tear that curtain down. Like, you know, or like, so
I'll send my 2-year-old over. She can chase him around for a while if you want.
that's fine.
She would love it.
Your house with both 2-year-old and kitten would be in a dire situation.
Yeah.
I will say she's very good at cleaning up after herself, though. So
That's wow, yeah.
Yeah,
That's not a 2-year-old.
she's all about putting things back after we get them out. So
Nice.
Oh,
Wow,
way to go, Mom.
that's a dream right there.
That is. Well, so that's not how my house works. My house is a mess, but I feel like I need to make a transition. So I'm going to. My house is a mess, just like this week's episode of Bachelor in Paradise.
Oh, that was a good one. That was really good.
What we had drafted is that this week on Bachelor in Paradise is messier than sorting Bill's Amazon purchases while he's high after surgery. Have you bought anything good?
I do think, I don't remember, but I have this like hazy fever dream memory that I bought something on Amazon. So
That's
we call
exciting.
we
Now
call
you,
it
like,
the Amazon Walrus. He buys stuff and then you're just like, oh, the Amazon Walrus bought those.
you'll know when it ships to you, I guess.
it's so fun. You don't know what you're gonna get in the mail.
Exactly.
So Monday night's episode began with Kendall and Joe. So it brought us right back to them, and they're having a conversation. And the conversation really reveals things that we kind of already knew, that their breakup was based on their location, not necessarily how they feel about each other. It seems like Kendall still has feelings for Joe. And she also still is not very interested in living in Chicago. So thoughts on their conversation, how Joe handled it, how Joe handled after that. He went and he talked to Serena. How did you all feel like that all went down?
I have no idea what her point was I mean, I know she says she wants closure. You can get closure over the phone. She doesn't want to move to where he's at. And he said multiple times, but I asked you, you know, like I told you, this is what I want you to do. And she's like, I'm not going to do that. So what, I don't understand why she's back. She says she doesn't want to move. So, okay. last I checked, you kind of need to be where the other person is. I think.
Yeah. I told Danielle I'd do some extra credit on long distance relationships. And I actually talk about this in class because I feel like whenever I teach this psychology of dating class, you know, a lot of the students are in these long-term relationships with a significant other from high school, and generally there's a saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder. That is not really the case unless it's pretty short-term absence. So long distance doesn't have a lot of great outcomes. There are people who do it, but you've got to both want that kind of relationship where you get together, you see each other, and then you have your space. Doesn't sound like Joe and her are in that place. They want to be together, but they want different things. The only time long distance works fairly well, that there's some research on the outcomes, is if there is a limited time that people are going to be apart and they kind of know that there's this end to it, right? So you move away for a year, but you know at the end of the year you're going to be back together, and you just kind of put your time into that. So
Woohoo. Yeah, I kind of thought for people that are listening, the cats are continuously jumping up on Bill's lap, and he's like talking and moving cats. So like
he's so patient with it too. He's just like,
well, I'm also very high, and so I'm gonna pause the podcast real. Sorry, I'm the weak link today.
All right. So I kind of thought like Kendall was going to switch things up. You know, I thought she was going to say, hey, like, it's been a year. I still have these feelings for you. Like, let's give it a shot. I'll move to Chicago. And she's like, no. And I was like, okay. So like, what's supposed to give here?
Yeah, I felt like she was basically like, I want to be with you and you need to move to California. And he was like, I want to be with you. You need to move to Chicago. And it was like at some point, yeah, I don't know. I thought he handled it well with Serena.
I did too. I thought that he was clear with her. I mean, he was kind of the opposite of all of the other communication that we see the rest of this episode, where I felt like he was really clear with her. He was honest with her. And then he followed through on what he said he'd do.
Yeah.
So after all of this, Joe and Noah have a little heart-to-heart, which prompts Noah to resolve things with Abigail. They seem to patch things up and kind of carry on. We don't really see that much else from them. Now, Mari would also like to carry on things with Kenny. And so she lets him know that she messed up. And he doesn't really turn her away, but he doesn't also commit. In his confessional, he does like admit that he has feelings for her, but he doesn't quite trust her. Is Kenny using old man wisdom here, or is he being a player?
I want to know what he can't trust her about. Like, I'm still not sure what like he said, I can't trust you, and I can't figure out what part of trust she broke.
Well, I think for me, I thought that it was because he felt like all of a sudden he had the rose or she had, I don't know.
Yeah, she had the rose. Okay.
All of a sudden she had the rose and she wanted the opportunity to like date other people after they'd already talked about that not being the case. So I think he feels like she flip-flops based on whether or not she's in control.
Which is what he wants to do as well.
I think he didn't want to until she wanted
think
to.
So? No, well, I think he would have. I think she just beat him to the punch.
What do you think, Heather?
So they're just the same people, in male and female, and I don't think Kenny's really, I don't think he's ready to make a commitment to anybody. And so I don't think it matters what she says or does. I don't think he's really going to commit to her. He came on naked in the first episode. I mean, yeah, I just don't, he does not seem like a commitment type to me, but.
I agree.
He definitely, he's not misrepresented himself as like a tool. Like,
No.
like he's not like Brendan, who came in and is like, oh, I'm all sensitive, and now you're like, this guy's a dick, you know?
Yeah. No. So Demi's kind of is pretty upset by this. So she lets Kenny know that she's hurt, that he didn't just choose her. So Kenny came back from his date with Tia, and I think Demi thought that he just know what his decision was, and Kenny's like, I'm just gonna like hang out with all three of you. And Demi's like, I don't like this. And Kenny's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna keep exploring things. And then so Demi's like, I'm so hurt. Want to go to the boom boom room? Oh, it was so uncomfortable, y'all.
So I would just like to point out Kenny's face is like, we have one of our dogs, Carlos. One of our favorite things to do is to take like 3 or 4 tennis balls and throw them in the air. And Carlos can't decide which one to get. And that is the exact face Kenny had when he was like, because it was like, do I go have sex? But then I have to deal with what comes after sex with Demi. But I get to have sex. You could tell it was just like not computing for him.
I think Demi is the after school special that needs to happen. Like, I don't know. How many times do you have to tell somebody like having sex isn't going to fix all issues in a relationship, you know? And that's exactly what she thinks is going to happen, you know? It's going to make me feel better. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to bring us closer together. And it does none of those things. And again, the fact that he's got 3 women and he can't just be honest with any of them. He's not going to commit. He's not going to commit to any of them. He likes having all the options. Gets him in trouble, but he likes having it all.
I agree.
I predict that he's actually going to stick with Mari at some point.
Think so?
I don't know that I think it's going to end in an engagement that lasts forever, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't. Like, I don't know. I
don't see how him and Tia fit together. I think you said this last week. Like, personality wise, they are continents apart. But it's like Mari and Demi, I can kind of see where it fits, and but yeah, I don't get it. I felt very bad for Demi. I think probably all of us at some point have made an advance on somebody, maybe not that overtly sexual, but like tried to kiss somebody and been rejected, and it's like, it's not a good feeling. And you could see her like when she did the thing with her hair like covering, it's like I felt very embarrassed for her. It's not fun to be shot down. So,
and I think that Demi is a really bold person that is also sensitive.
Oh yeah. I think go ahead, Danielle.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. So
I think her insecurities, she tries to mask them by being really like out there, you know, and it's like, I'm this person, and I think some of that's authentic, but then I think there's a lot of times where that bravado, the whole point of it is so that you don't see the parts of her that are insecure.
Absolutely.
See, the pain, the Oxycontin, man, it makes me like a Buddha.
You are spewing the philosophy. It's
Buddha Bill on Bachademia today.
Triple B.
I think we got our title for this episode. So some weird things happen. Like, there's like a shot of like Thomas juggling. I don't know. Jasenia talks about how fast things change. Then Brenda tells Natasha he wouldn't entertain anyone new if they showed up. So some really subtle foreshadowing is happening here when Piper comes in. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very planned, 1 being incredibly spontaneous, how planned do you think Piper and Brendan are?
From a producer side of things, I think that's way planned. I mean, obviously they knew that this was gonna mean, they know we're not, I know, I don't go into this show thinking like, oh, this is all just so, nothing's scripted at all. Of course, the producers know that they're talking and that this is going to cause drama and stuff. They have to.
Absolutely.
I don't know if Brendan and Pipe, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they had, knew that that was going to happen, but I don't think you can be in that sphere for as long as this show's been going on and not have some idea that like it's a potential that she's going to show up.
So he released a statement. So the night this was going down, he made a tweet or a Instagram post, and it was a picture of him, and it said, "Here for the wrong reasons." And then this morning he took it down and posted a big long thing about how it was insensitive and he feels bad. He should have, he really screwed over. Who was he with again?
Natasha.
Yeah. He screwed Natasha over, but people need to be nicer to Piper. But he still didn't really admit that they had this plan, which is funny because he basically said, we had a plan. This is what we were going to do. So that whole part felt like a fever dream, like it just like a weird, like with the juggling, and then that happened, and yeah.
I don't know. Were you high at the time where you were watching that?
No,
because,
that was pre-op.
Okay.
So yeah, what I was trying to gather is like some of the initial rumors were like, oh, he's like already dating Piper,
Mm-hmm.
but then like Piper comes on, and it's clear that they've been talking. But I don't know that I got the sense that their relationship was incredibly romantic. It sort of felt like, oh, this is like this plot for us to get more followers.
They don't seem to have like chemistry.
Well, someone else said that he was like so much more handsy with her than like he had been with Natasha, where like, it took him forever to kiss Natasha, and they were just like, and Natasha's like, well, maybe he's just not like an affectionate in that way. And I guess he and Piper were a little like more PDA-y. But I still
with Natasha was like the kiss you'd give your grandma. So like to say he was more handsy with Piper than Natasha, it's like you're starting at a really low bar. So the comparison's not impressive.
Not helpful for Bill.
Not
okay,
for
so
Bill.
what do you all it's like, what do you think about them being on the show to gain followers? Like, is that like, should we all be pissed?
Isn't everybody? I mean, I'm too cynical. I don't know that this actually works for that many people. So I think everybody's on it to have their 15 minutes of fame, and it's going to work for that. They're going to come away with more followers.
Yeah, who on the show has a real job at this point? Like, I feel like they're all really just social influencers.
This is their job, to look stupid in front of, millions of people and make special appearances at events and stuff, I mean, I'm certainly not going to be looking up any of these people to be my lawyer if that was their original, career. So.
Absolutely. Well, so yeah, I kind of had this feeling when I was watching it where I'm like, ooh, I don't like it because I don't like the way that he led on Natasha. And I don't like that it doesn't even seem like they're like kind of even trying to pretend that they're on for like romance, like to find romance. But like at the same time, I'm like, I'm pretty sure that this is everyone's goal. It's sort of like when everyone hated Thomas,
mm-hmm.
and they were like, oh, and I was like, but like, you want to be the Bachelor too, right? So I kind of felt like it was a little bit like that. And then even when people were talking about it, they were like, oh yeah, her and Serena were like talking about, followers and how to get your numbers up. So it's clear that there's these conversations that they're having about social media and how to gain followers, and they're like exchanging knowledge, around those things, but the camera just like it's getting edited out, but they left it in for them. So I don't know. So I'm teaching communication and popular culture right now, and we were talking about ways in which popular culture either maybe reaffirms or challenges things around class, money, meritocracy, the American dream, so we're kind of talking about like what television shows like kind of support this narrative of like meritocracy, that like if you just work hard, everything's going to work out easy peasy, or rags to riches sort of narratives, or like where do we see that sort of challenged, where the American dream or meritocracy is challenged, like the Great Gatsby or something like that, right? And I was starting to think about the Bachelor franchise and how different I think it represents class now than when it first started. So this isn't like, it's not like an extra credit in the sense that like I don't have like a thing that I'm like teaching from research. It's more like me just kind of being curious and wanting to hear what you all think. But I was like thinking about, those initial seasons, it felt like so many more people were like middle class, and like you would see their actual homes. I'm even thinking about like when Jason was the Bachelor, I'm pretty sure like he lived in an apartment.
Mesnick?
Yeah.
He had a houseboat.
He had a houseboat, so he was okay.
In Seattle, yeah. He had like, yeah.
Okay. So maybe I'm just like making it up, but I thought that you would see like more normal houses, and now it seems like they like stage them in houses. So even if people do have like maybe a normal background, like when they go to visit their families, they're still like staged in other houses. Or like Kelsey from Iowa, who's on, her family's like loaded. Loaded. And so I also just have like this question of like,
Sweaty Kelsey.
Sweaty Kelsey. That's like not how I think about her at all.
No.
But like, yeah, I think that I was just like, feel like they don't seem like everyday people to me anymore. Contestants. Like, do you all think that? Like,
well, Heather's been watching since the beginning, so I feel like this is a good tee up for her.
So this is an interesting, because the same year that Bachelor started, I'm pretty sure it was the same year that, do you remember the one season, I think was all they did, of Joe Millionaire?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I think pretty sure it was the same year. And that was all about, he's pretending to be a millionaire and he's really poor, and he gets all these women to buy into it, and then picks one, and at the end he's like, but I'm really this guy who has no money. And I think I agree with you in that at the beginning, I do feel like they were more relatable, that you felt like you could see yourself like, okay, anybody could be the Bachelor, and anybody can find love. And now I feel like it's not. I don't feel like I relate to any of these people, even if they do come from like a humble beginning. In the end, because of the way social media works, and again, the followers and all that sort of stuff, like that's not I don't live that life. I'm not trying to build up my followers on any specific thing. I'm not trying to make special appearances and anything. So it doesn't feel like love is attainable for the average person. Love is attainable for those who are willing to make a fool of themselves and, on in a lot of different ways. I mean, some of the things that they do, I'm just like, I would never do anything like that, never.
Bill's like, I would.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I'm trying to get followers and make appearances to stuff. I'm just not really successful right now at it.
You need to have a conversation with Kenny, apparently.
Yeah. Well, first I'm going to have to get in shape like Kenny. So
Kenny could be our marketing manager.
Oh boy, I love it. I think Instagram, and this is more in Danielle's sphere of knowledge and things that she knows a ton about, but I think Instagram has really changed the game, because I feel like if you went back and you watched right about the time Instagram got big, that's when you started seeing this like increase of them wanting to be social influencers. So now they can make a pretty good living having all these sponsorships from different companies.
Well, and I mean, it's changed how we view things too, right? So it's not just and there's aspects of that I really like, right? That like now you can view things, and as you view it, you're like watching the tweets at the same time or checking up on Instagram for hilarious memes, right? And I love that sort of like collective watching experience, but it also fuels this sort of like this like money based, like how money influences our experience of watching the show.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, this is me thinking about it from a parent perspective. Like I just, if I were on this show and I did half of these things and it was like viewable for so many people and you can go back and trace it, I'm just thinking, in the end, if one day if I have a kid and they're gonna be able to find all this stuff, I just don't think I'd be comfortable with all of that, you know? Like, oh, don't do the things that mommy did, you know, to find love, but it's out there for everybody. I don't know. I don't feel like it's representative of what, maybe it ruined my idea of what, you know, finding romance and a relationship is, because I just wouldn't do all these things like they're doing.
It's a meritocracy of love, right? Like if you work hard, and working hard means licking whipped cream off of someone's toe.
Which is so gross to me.
That's how you'll get there. You just have to work hard enough, but this is what the work is.
But it also seems like you're debasing yourself, you know? I mean,
Bit,
like,
yeah.
how stupid can you look? And you're selling yourself. You've made yourself a commodity. That's ultimately what it is, right? You've made love a commodity, you've made yourself a commodity, and everybody's buying or not buying into it. And
well, that's really what people are saying about like Brendan and Piper, right? Is that they came on a commodity, and now there's like, I believe there's a Twitter account that's tracking how many followers they lose by the hour. And it's like, well, they made themselves a commodity and they made a poor decision. And now they're losing, you know,
they're losing stock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's really fascinating. So Natasha is not happy about this. She's pissed. I was watching her tweet during the episode, and there were all these things that she was pissed during the episode, but I think when she saw some of this stuff played back that she didn't know, she was hot on Twitter too. So let's talk about Brendan's response. We've talked about gaslighting in the past, and I think that word gets used inappropriately sometimes. People are kind of saying this time Brendan was gaslighting her, and I think I'm a little more willing to go, yep, I think this is gaslighting.
Yeah, I think it's gaslighting for sure. I mean, there was a point where she said, you said this and this, and they had the tape, and he's like, I don't remember it that way. And it's like, I think that's the epitome of gaslighting, is when somebody says, you said this, and then you actively, and I think he knows, that is when I think it becomes gaslighting, when you're purposely doing it to make the person doubt themselves.
Well, and I think, or sometimes I don't even know if it's about making them, I think definitionally it's about making them doubt themselves, but I also think that some of it was just him covering his own ass, right?
Oh yeah.
That he's like, oh, like I'm gonna just like deny this thing because it doesn't work for me right now.
Or like weasel word your way out of it. Be like, I don't know if it was 100% that, like, because he never outright denied it. He kind of was like, I don't think I think what I said, it was, maybe that's not 100% accurate. And it's like, if you didn't say something, you would say, no, I did not say that. I said this. But when you're like, that's not 100% accurate, you're like, you're already kind of trying to hedge your bets, you know?
I think he knew.
Oh yeah.
I think he knew how he was going to be perceived too. So that's how Monday's night's episode ended, was with that wreck of a mess. Tuesday night's episode started with Titus Burgess, who's amazing, who arose. He arrived as the host, and he immediately announced that there would be a select few attending a VIP party. I guess, do you all have anything to say about that?
Amazing. I love it.
I don't know why. I don't know why this even had to happen, but
At some point, I think we have to assume that the producers are not good people.
oh, they
are
cannot
like
be.
that. Like everyone's like they're putting this together so they can find love. No, they are like ridiculous zookeepers that want to like hurt the animals at this point. Like they're like some 1950s human experiment before an IRB was invented, and they're just like, you know what we should
Oh,
do?
let's see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They are shocking the rats. They are giving them sucralose to see if they get tumors. I mean, yeah.
It just felt unnecessary, I guess, to
But
me.
like also necessary. And like,
well, yeah, I mean, why are we
yeah.
watching? Because
Yeah.
we want the drama. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna add more drama. Okay.
And oh, it brought the drama.
Right.
So
Right.
this like a select few getting to attend this party was really hard for those that were left behind, particularly Marissa, who her and Riley seem to be doing just fine, but this apparently cracks her. I was just like, girlfriend, like if you can't trust him to go to a party, like how's this gonna work when you leave the beach?
And the best thing was the videos of him at the party was him doing like the conga line. And it's like, I feel like it's everyone when they're like, you know, there's people who get jealous about their spouse, like they're probably cheating. And then if you saw like a group of guys out, it's like 4 bros in a room drinking beers and like, you know, talking about who should be drafted next year. You know, it's like there's really something that nefarious going on.
And Riley seems like actually a pretty loyal guy, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I think like once he decides to commit, I think if he wanted to leave Marissa, he would tell her.
Yep.
So at the party, they bring 4 new women on. And I will say, first off, I was like super confused because I thought that they were just bringing them on to like be on the show, but it seems like it was just for the party.
I have no idea.
So we really just see 2 of the women, Chelsea and is it Alana or Elena? Okay,
Alana.
Alana. Okay. So Alana immediately pulls Chris aside. Apparently, like they had talked before. Chris tells Jasenia, "Be right back." I'm like, dude, like, no, like he was just like, "Be right back." Like he's not about to just like walk into another room and make out with someone. So anyway, he goes into the other room and he makes out with Alana. Jasenia walks in on it. She tries to keep her cool. They kind of talk, like Chris and Jasenia talk to each other, and he kind of lets her know that he's confused. But then he just like stands right in front of Jasenia and like gropes Alana on the dance floor. Totally not.
Because he's so confused.
Because he's so confused. And then Jasenia rightfully leaves, which by the way, I thought she was just leaving the show.
Yeah, I thought so too. I was like, well.
But she actually is just going back to the beach. She's just leaving the party.
I wonder if she was gonna leave and the producers were like, hang around. We'll get Joe stirred up. This will be great.
Probably.
They're like, this will really set Joe up. I don't know. So then like Mari and Kenny are having the same conversation that they keep having, where Mari says, "I like you," and Kenny says, "I'm scared," and then they make out, and Demi's upset. It's like, okay, I think I just saw this 20 minutes ago. My favorite line though is like Demi's like, "I feel like I just had a one night stand that doesn't want anything to do with me," and I'm like, I think that's what a one night stand is.
I think that is the definition of a one night stand.
Also, do you all feel like Demi's using sex as sort of like leverage with
yes
me? Is that okay? Like should we feel, I feel grimy about it. Should we feel grimy about it? Or is it just like, yeah, sex changes things, Kenny? Like you went to the boom boom room.
I don't know. I wonder, like, I guess probably for me. So there's not a, like, the research on it is that very rarely do people have uncommitted one night stands where one person does, like, both people feel going away being like, well, that was great, I feel good, and I never want to talk to the person. Like, either you both feel like it wasn't that great, so you never have another one night stand. One of you wants more, the other one doesn't, right? So, like, this idea that you can have a one night stand and it just turns out you have great sex and you never want to see the person, it doesn't happen very often. But to Demi's point, I feel like she is. It's like, I mean, she kind of throws it out there like, I'm this unattached, like, person that just, wants to have fun. And then it's like, now
First
she
night
feels
she has fun. Now she's like, oh, but now I want
right.
all the things that come with that.
Right. But yeah, she's basically like talking about how fun she is and she's going to steal your man and blah, blah, blah. But then when she doesn't get what she wants, it's like, well, I had sex with you. That should mean something. And it's like, it's not like she did that with, Riley, who I feel like is like out there for commitment. Like, Kenny makes no bones about the fact he's the director of a boy band, for the love of God. Like, what do you manager? Yeah. So we did do a poll though, who people thought was the biggest tool. And interestingly, out of 100-ish people who answered, only 2% thought Kenny was the biggest tool. Chris got 25-ish%, and then Brendan got like 75%. So I think it's kind of interesting, the breakdown of that with everything that happened. I feel like people are like, you know what? Kenny may be a tool, but Kenny's willing to say, I'm just here to have a good time.
Kenny's willing to own it. The other two aren't.
Yes. Yep.
Absolutely. So Jasenia is feeling down. She's sad on the beach. The next day, Chris is also sad. What is he sad about? He is having the biggest pity party, and it's like so dramatic. And what is he sad about, y'all?
So I wonder if he didn't realize that those people at the party would be coming back. And so he thought, oh, geez, I screwed it up with Jasenia and she's going to tell everyone. And then I'm going to get sent home on the flip when I don't have a rose. I think that's what the original sadness was about. But then Alana shows up, right? So then he's happy again.
Well, I sort of felt like, I was like, is he regretting his choice? But then like he didn't like go to Justini and apologize, like, like anything that like might like communicate that.
He regretted that he got caught in all of it, but not that he actually did it.
As all 3-year-old children realize at some point in their life, it's not the act of doing it, it's the act of getting caught that's the worst.
Absolutely. So
he did release a statement though that said, yeah, he feels horrible about how he treated Jasenia. He realizes he did that. He was wrong in that. He's a horrible communicator and he's a people pleaser, and that's why he did what he did. But people need to stop bullying Alana. And then he kind of called out Joe and Riley for bullying him and Alana. So it's kind of one of those, like, I did wrong stuff, but other people did wrong stuff. We should all feel bad.
So here's my thing with Alana and how much should we be angry with her, right? On one hand, I think she's, coming onto the show the way that everybody is. You want to, maybe make connections, explore connections. She's coming on later. When you come onto the show later in the game, you're probably going to interfere with someone like an already established connection, right? So there's like a part of me that's like, I'm mostly mad at Chris, right? But I'm also like, she came, like, her little thing was like the most, like, I said, like, she asserts herself in the most American way, right? She's like, I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to take what I want. I don't care who it hurts. And I'm like, and then like, when they're on there, so she gets a date card. She immediately asks Chris. They go on this date where they zip line and then they like stage a kiss.
That was so weird. That whole kiss thing was just so bizarre to me.
I was like, is he not kissing like well enough and she's trying to like coach him, or is this all about getting the right angles for the camera?
I don't know.
Maybe both, but in either scenario, what guy is going to stick around for that?
I think Chris only cares about what people like. I think he said, I'm a people pleaser. And I feel like he is somebody who just like does whatever he thinks is going to make people happy. The person directly in front of him.
Being of a TV personality sort, influencer, whatever, I don't think that that's great for people pleasers.
No.
It's a tough deal. So as we say, Joe gets really fired up and he like leads a crew.
Did anyone feel like it was like, why all of a sudden I'm like, Joe's going Godfather on this one, you know? I mean, like he comes in with like, all I can see is like Al Pacino, like, you know.
He woke up from his like 18 hours of nap and was just like, I'm angry. It's like,
we gotta fix this.
I loved it. I like don't really see Joe as like a leader, but like he's like, I got this in me. I'm leading the team. We're gonna set some boundaries here in paradise.
It probably speaks to how much people like Jasenia too.
It does. I do think.
And I think, how much people dislike Chris. And Chris in his statement said, obviously I'm an easy target. And it's like, well, I think you're an easy target in that situation when you make yourself an easy target. But I also think no one liked Chris. Like all of the people were all the guys were making fun of him. And so I think he was easy to rally a group behind because it seemed like no one was a fan of Chris.
Do you think that that's why Alana and Chris evoked a different response than Brendan and Piper?
Yeah, I think they have relationships with Brendan and like he's been there longer. He's built kind of relationships. He's friends with people. It seems like they're like, he's a nice enough guy. He's probably being a real dick about this whole thing. But I think Chris, like no one really bonded with him. He had his whole thing with Chasen and
I wondered if some of it had to do with the way that Chris made out with Alana right in front of Jasenia too, and they all could see it, right? Where like I feel like the Brendan and Piper connection all happened away from other people. Like you could kind of like know, but they weren't like when you just see him do that right there.
Yeah.
That quickly, I think that probably also had a different effect than like hearsay and like trying to piece things together. But I think that they're gonna I think they might come for Brendan and Piper.
Oh yeah. And I'm here for it. Get them pitchforks out.
So
I've never been a Brendan fan, by the way. I'm just gonna put it out. I always felt like he was like, I don't think he's exceedingly bright. He's never said anything of consequence ever. Like
he's empty.
He's gotten by on being really good looking and being very non-controversial, which is fine. But then when it like with Natasha, it's like you could tell he was not willing to change or move out of that space. And so she'd ask him a question. He would just be so like, I don't know. Yeah. Although him and Piper would have really attractive children. They're both really good looking.
That is true. That is true. So Chelsea is here and she has Aaron on a date. They ride horses and make out like everyone on the beach on a horse. And while on their date, Becca gets a date card and she decides that she wants to ask Thomas, but she first talks to Tammy. I really like Becca a whole lot. And so I wasn't surprised that she would do Tammy that courtesy. I think like it is just like a courtesy though. Like, what do you expect Tammy? Like I wonder how she would have handled it if Tammy was like, no. Also, why Thomas? Why Thomas? Her and Thomas, I think, have a perfectly bland date. But they seem to have a connection. Tammy cries.
Joe and Becca should just get together. I feel like they'd be a really good match. Grocery store Joe and Becca.
I can sort of see that. I think that Becca.
Heather, go ahead.
I just feel like Becca is a little smarter than a lot of people that are on the beach.
She is, but she's done this, I mean, she was the Bachelorette, so I just really like Joe and I really want something to work out well for him. And, so I don't really care who it's with as long as it just works out and he doesn't end up heartbroken again.
I feel like him and Becca have similar energy. I feel like she's from Minnesota, he's from Chicago, and that
so the distance is not as impossible.
Yeah, I mean, you could see her moving to Chicago or moving a little bit further away and it being like, well, it's whatever drive, we can do that. That's very doable. So
but I will say Kendall's super smart. Like yeah. Kendall's a very smart person too. Sorry,
she just won't move.
She just won't move.
No, I think it does make me wonder why they never bring in a relationship, like an actual relationship expert or anything into these and just kind of say like, what are you really doing here? Or let somebody come in and just say, if it were up to me, I'd match these people up. I just wonder what would happen if you brought in somebody like that who kind of like stirred it a different way,
Ooh, I like that idea. You should talk to the producers, Heather.
Yeah.
Totally different show. It's called Married at First Sight. Already happening.
Okay.
So, everybody's hatred for Chris and Alana escalates, and they kind of really do force them off the beach. So Chris leaves. They like have this conversation, and Alana's like, but I have only been here for 24 hours. Like, I don't want to leave. But then she does, but then she gets into her car and Chris gets into her car and it's the wrong car and it's really awkward.
She says, Chris, this is not your car. And it was the greatest television moment in the last 5 years, maybe. I did appreciate that she said to him, Chris, if we leave together, the implication is that this is a long-term relationship and I'm not ready for that. Which I really appreciated her saying that. And then Chris was really mopey.
So, okay, question. One, are you all cool with them kicking them off the island, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, whoa.
Ivan Drago here. If they die, they die.
What else? I mean, nobody likes Chris. So why keep him on? And for Alana, I mean, she came on saying, I'm going to, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to take, if I want that guy, I'm going to go after him. Okay, well, you want him. Great. Have fun and move on. I don't understand how there could have been another outcome. To me, that was the perfect way for that to end. And
I'm fine with them voicing their opinion. I got uncomfortable when they were like, so go, you need to go, you need to leave. Like, that's when I was like, that felt very rough or brusque to me, I guess.
I think it made me uncomfortable, but I'm not sure I can articulate why. So yeah. So I saw this like tweet and I kind of agree with it, where they think that they should make a new policy that like a month before you should come on or something like that, you can't interact with other Bachelor Nation like people.
But then where would they bring the drama from?
Can you imagine the level of horniness that would be? Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
It would be like a cat cage when they're like, when they're in heat. It would be like the big cat cage at the zoo when the lionesses are in heat.
So like speaking of horniness, next week's preview looks a little hot.
When it comes to the toe part, I'm gonna have to switch on that one. I won't be able to watch that.
Really? You have that much objection to toe
feet
licking?
are so disgusting. I just can't. I can't.
Co-host Kim, like she had to stop for a while, and we're all in this group text because I was getting ready for my surgery, and I could tell that she had watched about 2 hours after us because we get a text. It's just like, for the love of God, they're walking on that skanky beach and then licking toes. I was like, well, maybe they wash their feet before. I don't know.
There is no guarantee of that.
That's true.
I'm here for it.
Also, Lil Jon being brought on is like probably the most perfect thing they could do. Like,
I'm here for all of this. I'm here for seeing what finally like happens between Kendall and Joe. I'm ready to see Brendan suffer some more. Like, I guess like show me some toe licking, whatever. Yeah.
I'll probably watch it too. I don't.
Only one episode though, right?
One episode next.
Yeah, it's on Tuesday. I don't know what's going on Monday, but Tuesday, yeah.
God.
Oh my goodness, I know. I love the show, but 2 episodes in 1 week is a lot to keep on top of. It turns out like I have other things in my life too.
Yeah.
So lessons learned this episode, y'all.
Ooh, man, dead air time. Dead air.
Don't have sex with people you aren't sure are going to commit to you. I don't know.
That's a good one.
Danielle, I don't know if I got a good lesson.
I would just say, I feel like there's something around greed, and like you're too greedy for followers, you're gonna like lose them. I don't know. There's like some sort of, I don't know, what's that? It's like that parable about, oh gosh, I'm gonna mess this up so badly, about like the guy and like luck, right? Do you know what I'm talking about? Where like his son like falls off a horse and he's like, oh, I have such bad, or no, I'm leaving this. Never mind. This is terrible. Cut this out. I will share this some other time.
I gotcha. I think it's kind of like Moby Dick, which I've told you is one of my favorite books, and I think it's a great cautionary tale. And it's like you chase something you want so bad that you alienate everyone you know and everyone you're friends with. Yeah. And it's like, I think Brendan, case in point, wants followers so bad that he was willing to basically step over Natasha and everyone else, and he's clearly losing friends. And so be careful your ambitions.
There's a price for fame.
Yes, nothing is ever as good as you make it out to be in your head. Like,
I think I also learned that I shouldn't let my kids watch the show.
Oh, no. I always have to be careful. They always get to bed like right around 8:00, which is right when the second hour is starting. And my husband's always like, turn it off. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness. Heather, any shout outs?
I told Kim Bach, she's our interim director, that I'd give her a shout out on this episode. So she'll listen. And she's doing a great job as interim. So
nice.
Awesome.
Sorry, Dave, if you hear Kim's coming for your full-time job.
Pretty sure Dave will not be listening to this. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Everybody have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye-bye. You've been listening to Bachademia with your hosts, Doctors Daniel Dick McGew and Bill Henniger. All opinions expressed on this show are solely the opinion of the person who spoke them. If you like our podcast, please consider following us, leaving us a 5-star rating, and a positive review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also, please share with your friends, family, and other ardent Bachelor content lovers. If you have comments or questions you would like us to address on the show, you can email us at bachademia@gmail.com or on the Twitter with the handle @Bachademia. Thanks for listening.